Recording started. You're going to hear some beeps. Off we go.
I like swiping, I like blinging, I like shining, I like $1 billion kills. Where's the X? Bitch, I'm flying. I like those big fat Minakawas, the ones that look like blocks. I like going to my builders, fill their hangars with square rocks. I like contracts with my contacts when they want to give me stuff. I like rolling on my cores, pimping stats and maxing buffs. They call me Queen Kawari, banging body, spicy mommy, hot tamale, hotter than New Caldaria, micro warper, start to hop up the blue, jump in the food, neon gas car, slapped on the hood, popping off missiles as far as I can, influence max and avoiding the scan, X-tags from Space Daddy, yo, snugly just like Mario, yeah, call me Kawaii, yo, and I run this ship with Taylor, though, damn, Baton District in the name. Skills high, you know I'm getting hot, drop, lock and range. Oh, who's our Santa? What's his name?
All right, it is Echoes of New Eden. Echoes from the front, not echoes from the back. I got Savarte here with me this morning. It is a morning show. It is a Wednesday show. Out of the blue. That's not out of the blue. We're going to be talking patch notes today. We're going to be talking about super vax that aren't super, that have building and fucking Tama, and all of that shit. And more coming up today. We'll go over the patch notes, everything else. Savarda, how you doing this morning, man?
I'm doing well. Pretty excited for the update.
Olive, I use shit songs, Olive, because that's all we have. It's all Rambo makes. Okay, I don't know what else to say, Olive. Go ahead, Savarda.
I was just saying, anticipated update. I've been not forward to, but expecting Supervax for some time now. So good to see that they're in. Kind of sad that they're not faction. Those bonuses would have been way better for. But yeah, happy to talk about it.
Yeah, we'll go through the details of what the stats are, what everything looks like in terms of the build. They're not as bad as what I thought they would be. So the build on them
me neither.
Is actually
I'm actually really.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I mean the build on them is not that difficult.
No, it's not. And I'm actually really surprised the way that they went with the blueprints using just regular carriers. I was really expecting them to be a lot more to what's being portrayed right now.
Yeah. So, we'll break all that down. We'll get into it. We'll go through the whole patch notes, like I said. Let me pull those up over here and make sure that I've got them. I do. Refresh that. As always, you can get the patch notes. The best way to go through the patch notes is with that honk link, which... Shit. Let me paste that. And while I'm doing that, you're going to hear beeps. Sorry, you're just going to hear beeps in the background. I can't shut that off in the middle of doing the thing. So what that is going to be people DMing me. It's non-fucking stop. That's the patch notes you want to be looking at. That's the best way to do it because you can search through them and have all the history there all at once. Excuse me. Sorry. I am still having my Wednesday morning coffee. And fuck, those beeps are annoying. That's going to be bad. Anyway. So, quick update before we get into the hand raised. What, is Rambo wanting to get on? Is Rambo going to... Yeah, he's requesting to... Is there a setting here maybe I need to change? I don't understand. Oh, look who it is. Joining us on stage.
What up?
And you got your baby with you, your little one?
Yeah, we're about ready to go to school. Perfect timing for you, I know.
Nice, yeah. We haven't done a show together in like a year, it feels like forever. It's been forever. So yeah, getting into that quick update on my end. I've been exceedingly busy over the past 2-3 months. Not only did I kicked off a war that then ended, but right as I kicked that off, I technically got a promotion at my job. So I'm traveling a little bit more, and I'm traveling over the weekends in order to squeeze shit in. So, hi. So there's times when I'm actually like getting on a plane on a Sunday instead of having time here doing the podcast. There's times I'm coming back on a Saturday. So time is exceedingly limited. Had to cut some things out here and there, and unfortunately, it was Sunday shows for me. I almost can never do them at this point, but we'll see. Every once in a while, I'll be around. And like I told Rambo,
in a way, congrats.
yeah.
But it is nice to see you, and we haven't done a show, and we had just it's been weeks and weeks and weeks, and everything's been so busy, between us.
Yeah.
To be able to line up the times again, it's like planets aligning. Yeah, baby.
Right, you're moving, the house, everything else was going on at the same time, so yeah. Probably Durkadur. My boss is on me out payroll. Something. I don't know. It just is what it is. I don't know, Frost. What would happen if I won one? I don't know. Maybe MJD would no longer be pissed off at me. I don't know. Which MJD is now Micro Jump Drive, so that confuses the fuck out of everybody. Oh, I'm sorry. Oops. It's a kid here. Oh well. Not a huge thing. Okay, let's get right into the patch notes. Obviously, Tactical Carrier was the big headline. We're going to save that for the back half of the patch notes because that'll take up probably the most amount of time. Obviously, Tactical Carrier is a big deal. The restrictions for it are a big deal, but so is the Micro Jump Drive. Nice little segue right into the MJD. It's an intra-system combat. For intra-system combat, its activation requires a warm-up period. I believe it's 10 seconds for the destroyers, a little bit longer for the battleships, and the capital version's like 45 seconds. So that's pretty... Yeah, I hope so, Troop. I hope she can't hear me. So that's pretty. That's a pretty lengthy amount of time. The module does not allow orientation adjustment once activated, and can be disabled by scrams, interdiction spheres, and warp disruption field generators. So it is different than that. That is a topic, Frosty. We'll get into that. What actually do we call them? ACs, ATs, or whatever. It's a tactical carrier, so no, it's a TAC at this point. TAC. It's a tactical assault carrier. That's what I'm going to start saying. And it'll be wrong. I don't care. So you can shut the things off. You can't stop that. Basically, the boosh effect, what it's called in EVE Online, the boosh side of things. They can be used on bombers, and they can also be used on the micro version. Can also be used on the destroyers. So yeah, it's the Micro Jump Drive that is for the four bombers anyway, the 4 bomber battleships. The effectiveness of that, I'm not really sure. Savardo, you and I talked about this a little bit. When it comes to the battleship bombers, it's a solo thing. So you're not, when you use it, you're just moving yourself 100 kilometers in the direction you were aligned in. Not anybody else. It's just you all by yourself.
Right. So, I mean, I think they're already in a weird place as being more solo ships anyways, because of the whole Citadel module and the way that works. So the only thing I can see is either getting in or getting into something 100 kilometers away, or getting away from something kilometers away. I think they're better fit. As brawl. So it would be getting in brawl range or trying to get out from being trapped. But if you're scrammed, it doesn't work anyways.
Right. Same thing with the bubble. So the effectiveness of it is kind of like, who cares?
Right. So
a Citadel can scram you for crying out loud. Yeah.
Yeah, for the battleship ones, very limited use. I mean, I'm sure there's probably going to be people out there that do some wonderful things with them. But I guess my question, do you unlock the target when you jump away, or do you stay locked?
Well, it's a jump. It's considered a jump, so I would think you'd unlock the target. You lose all your target locks. Now, I guess that's the question that I didn't think about yesterday. The battleship bombers, can you get the Dragon Chant core, nano core for those? So you can unlock.
I'm not sure.
No, you can't. Okay. Well, that would make that very overpowered, because that would be your that would be your big get the fuck out of Dodge button, basically. Unlock everybody, hit the micro jump drive, boom, you're 100 kilometers away. Now you have an ability to line and something, right? Get away from being camped in. But bubblers obviously still stop that, but that's my first thought in terms of effectiveness on the battleship bomber. Other than that, I can't really. Yeah, so I don't really think that's going to have a huge impact. I could see some people trying, playing around with it, maybe coming up with something obviously I haven't thought of yet because, I haven't spent that much time thinking about it. People come up with interesting fits all the time, so if anybody else is playing with this over the next day or two and has some thoughts on it, post it up here. The micro jump drive field generator, though, is the one that's exceedingly interesting to me. I think this has some ability to have some huge impact on the game and fleets. Let's see, I'll read the notes and then we'll go through it. A micro jump field generator for intra-system combat. Activation requires a warm-up period. While warming up, orientation cannot be changed. Once activated, it instantly teleports up to 20 conventional ships and their drones with range to a location 100 kilometers away. Upon arrival, the ship maintains its direction and velocity. So, let's see. What else does that say there that really matters? Only ships, the 4 tactical destroyers. I don't know why they say including the Endurer, but they mean all 4 tactical destroyers. That is the Endurer, the Salamander, the Elgato. Isn't that the Catalyst? Isn't it called the Elgato? Errato? Yeah, whatever. Elgato. Where the hell did I get that?
I don't know. Bird cat.
Yeah. I guess. Huevos Fronteros.
I'm rubbing off on you.
What's the 4th one? Sorry, what was that, Rambo?
The Night Crow?
No. The 4th Desi.
Salamander?
Salamander. Errato.
Errato. And Night Crow.
Night Crow. That's the one that's useless, I feel like.
It's the only one that's not a Dictor, so it's like a salt.
Yeah, it's useless.
Destroyer.
I feel like it's useless, but whatever. That's pretty slick, Muffin. Wish I had something like that. Those are expensive, though. Those are like $150 just to have a button push. Anyway, they're neat though. No Gato Stream Deck. That's probably what I was thinking of. That's probably where I got the name instead of Aratu. Anyway.
I was saying is because I rub off on you.
Yeah, right. I haven't done that. I'm out of practice.
I torture names.
Yeah, I'm out of practice.
Man, I tortured Rahab so many times last week.
Oh, I just call it rehab.
It was hilarious.
We all need rehab for playing this game. Yeah, so it's just a rehab.
I need rehab for real.
Yep, we all do. Yeah. We play this game, so that's why we're here. We're all in rehab together. But no, I think this has 20 ships. So, think of the implications there in terms of just diving in with an Endurer. You got 10 seconds to activate it. So you dive into an enemy group. They don't have a Dictor or Hictor bubble up. And you just whoosh 20 of them away. Do that 4 or 5 times. Have a couple of Dictors there ready to go. I can't wait to try that.
If they can be used offensively like that, then that's a huge game changer for split fleets.
It is.
If you were to dive onto a Logi fleet and warp them 2 kilometers away, because usually if they're split in 2 separate bubbles, and now all of a sudden they're out of range, or even just breaking up half a fleet, so you warp, if it's max targets of 20, and one of those ends up being the Nightmare will be warp stabbed, so it'll pick something else up if it has bubble up.
Right, they'll have a shield field up, or a Fiend will have a shield field up if they're using those. So either way, neither one of those will move, but anything underneath it, you have a potential of warping it away 100 kilometers. In which case, the rest of your fleet can then warp on top of that spot because the Endurer or whatever or the Salamander is in your fleet, so you can just warp to them and go. Be amazing.
Right. Because that ship's going to be moving with it. That's right.
Yep.
So that's huge, especially for brawl fleets.
Yeah, the drones will stay with the ships regardless. You won't be taking drones away and leaving ships there. It's not The drones don't work that way in Eve Echoes the way that they would on Eve Online, where you can boosh a bunch of drones away. It doesn't work that way
Well,
here.
I think it said it in the patch that it moves a ship and a drone.
Right, it moves them together,
In
just like you would anything else. As soon as you go into warp, if you have drones out, all of a sudden they're in your hangar. On Eve Online, if you try to warp away without bringing your drones in, you just left them all there. So they just work differently. So it'll be the same thing here. You get warped away, your drones go back into your hangar bay instantly, and off you go. Now, that in itself is an interesting defensive mechanic if you have a dictor with you and you want to try to use it that way to pull something away from an area that has their drones out that are at too far of a range to call back. But then again, you could just warp off. But I don't know, it's interesting. Interesting tactics will come of it. You can imagine there's going to be a lot of shenanigans with that. People who don't know any better. I wonder if it works in low sec on a gate. Somebody comes in, warp into a gate, they're just sitting there for a minute, and you could just rip them right off of the gate. I think that'd be funny. Can't be an offensive thing.
Well, with the Supervax boosting a freighter off the gate, if you time it right.
Yeah, I mean, can you... Well, you don't even have to... Well, yeah, I guess a regular freighter still. Doing that with a super, you could take that 100 kilometers off. That doesn't matter. You're still in low sec. You got gate guns and everything, but still, now you've just caused that freighter pilot a hell of a lot of pain. And then you just bring in your cheap NATO 2s and snipe it until they all die.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
Right.
I have a comment about that pretty soon when we get further in the patch as well. But go ahead.
That's a great idea, Durkadur. Take it into Clairlam and just rip people out of their ANOMs. Just totally screw up their AI. Just pull them right out of there.
Well, I mean, if they're 100 off in in a snipe fit ANI, and you boosh them to the center with all the rats, you could be doing high sec PvP with it.
Ooh. Yeah, push them right into the middle of the ANOM.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I like that idea. Yeah, you don't have to be in a fleet to get them to work. They'll work anywhere. Boy, I like that idea. Take away high-sec islands from everybody. That's a good one.
I've tried it a couple times with a large afterburner Phantasm Voyage core. You can get it going like 18K, and then bumping a battleship, you bump it about 100 kilometers.
Yeah.
But it's super hard to try to align it to get that done. And the rats don't really.
Yeah, it's a pain in the butt.
And you can't scram them. So I mean, it's possible, but it's not viable.
Yeah.
But booshing, on the other hand, could be.
I would think so. I don't know if you can do it to NPCs or not. I wouldn't think so. And they've got another mechanic in here that kind of changes up things too, that makes it a little bit makes that side of it on the NPCs a little interesting. We'll get to that in a minute. Obviously, there's a capital version of the micro jump drive field generator. The capital variant is the standard one, but it is fitted to the Supervac. It's the TAC is the only ship that can use it. You can get that BP in the capital ship proving grounds, then manufacture it. So all that's ready to go today. I haven't looked at the capital ship proving grounds yet. That's an event-based ratting thing, right? Like you can just get right into it from your event screen or something while you're docked. Isn't that what that is? I haven't tried it yet or looked. Someone want to look in game real quick and see if it's there? So while I like that, that's one of the reasons to have a TAC. The other one is the jump overload burst, which is the next thing we're going to talk about. Can you chain? I don't know if you can chain. You might be able to chain it. That would be wild. There's no event. Oh, don't they call CTRs capital? Yeah, maybe. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna say there's no actual event or anything in game about proving grounds, but I think that's just translation for what they call CTRs or cap rallies or something.
Yeah. Okay. So nothing new. That sucks. We do need some new shit on the ANOM side, but
Did they add one?
No. Not really.
Or bad translation from Inquisitor. About it.
Yeah. The other module for the TACs is the Jump Overload Burst. It's a mid-slot tactical module that prevents a nano-enhanced field, or projects a nano-enhanced field onto fleet allies, temporarily boosting their jump drive capabilities and providing long-range jump navigation support. Only TACs equipped with this technology can be fitted with it. Primary effect: it improves warp stability. It reduces capacitor consumption for jumps. It increases the jump range. And it also enhances the Sun Chaser navigation range and allows its ability to be used in nullsec. Also get that from CTRs. Now, when I read that the first time, two things popped to mind. First was there's no count there, so it's just whoever's close to you. And I didn't see a range noted, so I guess I have to look at that in game and see on the Jump Overload Burst. Is there a range attributed to it, and is there a count total attributed to it in terms of only so many? Or I think there was a range of 10 kilometers or something, though, something ridiculous like that. So it was only a 10-kilometer range around you, but it was anything inside that basically 20-kilometer diameter bubble.
Yeah, I thought I took a shot of it.
Yeah, I thought you did too, but I can't switch over to that screen. Maybe somebody can post the stats on that real quick. We can go over that and make sure I'm thinking right. The odd thing with it, though, is it makes the Sun Chaser viable in nullsec, where it was never viable before. So if you have that Sun Chaser nanocore on a Nightmare, you can now jump it around in nullsec. Obviously, I'm assuming anyway that jammers will still apply to that, just like anything else. I can't see that being a... maybe it's a glitch.
I don't think they do, because a jammer prevents you from lighting a Sino, but it doesn't prevent you from jumping into the system. Because you're not moving to a Sino with Sun Chaser, technically you should be able to jump in. From the stats that I do remember from it,
but only the Sun Chasers, though, not a whole fleet. So if that was the case, well,
right.
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know. I guess
the
that's the thing.
Have...
Yeah, can you if you're not having to, if you're this is the Jump Overload Burst, though. So I'm assuming you still have to have a Sino on the other end in order for this to apply. You're not just going to be able to jump attack at whatever range without a Sino.
So, yeah, well, the Sun Chaser...
Can't you just choose the star? Yeah, don't you just
on the
jump
Sun
to
Chaser?
The star, though?
On the Sun Chaser, you do, yes.
Yes, yeah. So the Sun Chaser, you choose the star. I think it allows up to negative 0.5 system. So like you can't jump into a negative 1.0, but you can jump into a negative 0.5, 0.4, and higher. So it also extends the range by 1 light year. Now I didn't see any skills associated with this module as well yet, but it extends it by 1 light year for each of those.
Well, they are going to have skills for it. They did say that.
I saw the skills for the Bushes, but I didn't see one for this module.
Yeah, there's going to be skills.
Maybe they will add it eventually.
Yeah, there's going to be skills for it down the road that'll boost this effect. Yep, 100%.
Right. So for the Sun Chaser, you'd have to have a nanocore that allows you to use the Sun Chaser system. The only one I can think of offhand is the Golden core. Because I know I have one of those for my Oracle. That's the only one that I know of. I think they did release another one. What it is? I think
the Neon Gas has one.
Oh, okay. So those are obtainable with ore, I think, right?
And the Lucents can do it without the core. Well, I thought they were going to do something where all of the Yangjuns had that ability. Period.
I think I did see about that too. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, for a super, max skills is 7.58. That brings it to 8.58. That's pretty big.
Yeah, extra light. Well,
and
not only that, but if you can get it, I think the main thing on obviously, if you want to have if you need a farther jump range for your supers or your TACs or whatever, that's obviously good. But from my standpoint, I would want to see the faxes, the dreads, and everything else just get to the range of where the supers are, so that when you're moving your supers at your max range of 7.5 light years, you're not having to make 2 jumps for everybody else.
Right. So with max skills, think T1 variants, so regular carriers, regular dreads, at 5.55 jump drive is 5.08. So in current form, it would bring it to 6.08. For the Tech 2 variant, they are at 5.8 at max skills, which brings them to 6.8. This with guild. So, I mean, even that's bigger, but not quite super range.
Yeah. It all helps, though.
What's also nice. Right. And what's also nice is it has a minus 25% capacitor need as well.
Yep.
So I think at max skills, it's 50%, 58%, somewhere around there.
Yeah, now
so
you take
dropping
it down to
that
25 or something.
Right. So
or
like
30,
that's pretty big too.
However they apply those stats, one side or the other, depends on what that'll actually come out to be, but I feel like that's pretty big.
Yeah, for sure.
Moving away from the TACs and some of their modules, there's a structural siege array that was also introduced this week. This is crazy, by the way. This is just absolutely nuts. It's basically tethering off of a Fortizar. It's only for Fortizars. If your corporation has 10 sovereignty or more, I don't know if it's an equal than or less than or whatever. It could be 11, but it could be 10 or less, or it could be, boom, if you're at 11, or if you're at 10, then you don't get to use this module. But it's basically damage capping whatever it's targeting and locking onto. So if you have a fax, or you have a TAC or a super undocked from your Fortizar that's trying to defend it, it's not killable because it damage caps you at 50,000 DPS on whatever you're targeting. It's Alliance Sov, not Corp. Oh, well, that's fucking hilarious. So, are you sure? Where does it say? Can someone post the screenshot of the module stats real quick so we can all look at it together and make sure? Because I thought it just said units of 10. And I would think that's Corp related. But man, if it's Alliance related, then that just restricts that to just a bunch of solo guys. No, not a per level thing, but your number of sovereignty. You have to be a small corp, not an alliance, in order for the... It's for the witty-bitty guys. Yeah, exactly. It's for all the itty-bitty guys. So the supers can't get wanked. Yeah.
For the little itty-bitty corps that have, what, Tech 6, Corp Tech, and Fortizar Tech, and everything else along with it.
Right. And aren't part of a nullsec block.
Right. So, I mean...
So basically it's an alt corp. It's for alt corps to put down Fortizars with. I mean, I don't understand what they think well, there's a lot about NetEase and how they come up with things that make you kind of shake your head. But what do they think they're actually getting around by doing that? It just says... it does say Alliance. Activate module Alliance total sovereignty cap 10. Motherfuckers. What do they think they're getting around with that, though? Just take your corp that's set up just for the Fortizars. Doesn't have to do anything else. It's just set up for the Fortizars. And then put your Fortizar there in the NPC stations around you, or the NPC regions like a Venal or a Great Wildlands or something like that around you with the auto guns with that thing on. And there you go. Well, yeah, you'll shoot your own stuff. Sure, that's true. It's a Trog gun. Or Torg, as we're calling it nowadays. But, I mean, it makes you invincible. So you have to kill the Fortizar first as opposed to the ship.
Well, so I got a couple of questions then. So if you tether a super with it, and it's an armor super, but you're on shield timer, will it transfer the armor damage, or does it transfer the armor damage shield of the
whatever
Fortizar?
The damage is? It doesn't transfer it to the Fortizar. It just caps your incoming damage, period.
Oh, I thought it transferred.
No, go to the next there's an energy transfer amount. There's a 300 kilometer range on it. It's activating every 30 seconds. It even has a shield, armor, and structure repair bonus of 200k each. For shit's sake. That's just insane. But there's also, if you scroll back up on that, it shows what the damage cap is and what the details are on that damage cap. It does use a shit ton of fuel.
How many ships does this target? Is it only a single ship?
I'm pretty sure you're targeting one ship. So someone has to be running it and targeting it.
How many of these can you fit? Is there a limit?
I'm assuming only one. I'm waiting for someone to get the other part of that screenshot of the thing to confirm, but I can't imagine it's more than one. I mean, I was a little upset that the versatile guns anyway, the Trog guns, if you will, you could only install one of those on a Fortizar as well, even though you have 6 high slots, or I think it's 6 high slots. So that's 1.2 million gigajoules worth of fuel every 30 seconds. You better have that Fortizar fueled up. Better be fueled up. But I mean, it makes whatever's sitting there invulnerable. Hey man,
I got to get out of here. So thanks, Taylor.
Yep.
Nice seeing you.
You too, buddy.
Thanks, Civ. I'll talk to you guys later.
Yep. See you, Rambo.
And, yeah.
Take care, Rambo.
All right, let me fix our thing up here for the recording. Boom. Doesn't say a number. Can we get a screenshot of where it shows that damage cap, by the way? I want to make sure we're all on the same page there and I'm not saying it wrong. If you don't mind, Kingslayer. I would appreciate it. Thank you. While we wait for that, we'll skip over some of the other stuff. We'll talk about some balance adjustments real quick. Obviously, they changed the 4 tactical destroyers to where they can do the micro jump drive. We talked about that. The bombers update. They did also add, interrupting your crabbing, yeah, of course. They did also add 20% more hit points to the structure of all supers. I don't know why they felt like they needed to do that out of the blue, but they did. So
maybe when you're getting shot by 120 of them, the EDCU will actually do something. I don't know.
Or has time to activate. I don't know. I don't get why they felt like they had to do that out of the blue. Obviously, they made a huge adjustment to all of the, well, they said this is hilarious because they've already changed the wording in the name, but they important adjustments to versatile assault ships. So all of the skills have now been completely modified and reset to where you're basically a carrier pilot. So this is that's a huge change because it used to be if you're going to go carrier, then you could easily go into a fax and then obviously work your way up to a super. But if you wanted to go to a VAC or a VAS, you were doing something totally different because none of the skills overlapped at all. Now that's not the case. Now you're looking at the carrier side of things being all-inclusive, kind of like the Dreads are, which tells me that the Titans will be on the Dread side and be all-inclusive there as well. They won't be different or bifurcated out the way that the VACs are, or were anyway, because they've obviously smushed all these together. So now on a carrier side, you can be carrier, you can be fax, you can be the assault carriers, and then you can be super as well, or a super assault carrier, a tactical assault carrier. So all of those are well more aligned than what they were before. I think it's roughly about 35 to 40 million SP that people can expect to get back today. I think they've already, well, there is already a patch that was out, a mini patch. I just got it right before the show started. That fixes the issue where you had to have the LAS units before you could actually get your skills back out. But now you can do it without having to have your LAS units ahead of time. Confirmed issues fixed. All right, great, thank you. Yep, correct. I am now officially correct.
At the same time, 30 million skill points towards skills for a VAC at minimum is what, 5%?
It's not a whole lot.
No. When you start factoring in the stuff for the swarm module and the lightweight ships and the small ships, now the cruisers and the battle cruiser skills, and I don't know. Well, we'll talk about more of that later. But I mean, what's 30 million skill points?
Oh, it goes.
I mean,
it
sure,
goes real fast.
It's a little bit. Yeah, it's a little bit, but at the same time, it's a small change.
Right.
In the right direction, I'll agree. But yeah.
that totally makes the deviation between carrier and dread a lot more palpable between where you want to go and then what you're able to fly once you go that direction. Because obviously, as a super pilot, every ounce of skills you has goes into being a super pilot. You have very little room left over, unless you're in the 400 million SP range. Then you have some room left over to be able to get back into battleships or something else. Obviously, frigates is an easy one to do, but
Right.
yeah, until you get way up there in the 400 million SP range, you really don't have a whole lot of room to do anything other than the super or a carrier for that matter. But now you can kind of fit in the Now you can kind of fit in the facts in there, and you can start to fit in this on the lightweight ships, because that's really all you're adding is all the lightweight ship skills, which is no small amount, to say the least. Going back to that structural power transmission array, yeah, it does say damage taken cap, average per second, 50,000. And it adds resistance to you as well. All damage resistance of 50%. You are invulnerable. So you're not killable.
So even if you can only fit one of those, tether a nightmare. Tether a nightmare. Put everybody
bubble,
underneath it.
The nightmare bubble,
yep.
Yeah. That's a fair point. Or, or a Nestor, if you're going to go that route.
Right. Yeah. Either way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's quite big.
That's well. It makes your Fortizars. They were already difficult to kill to begin with. I mean, let's be honest. The Fortizars are hard to kill. They're just really, really hard to kill.
So how long until Fat Troll gets his thumb, and starts to troll with that?
I'm sure someone's going to be building one of those pretty quick today. I mean, as soon as the blueprint gets pulled out of CTR, I'm sure Tori is running a CTR right now for it. What's that?
I did see that it was a very rare drop along with the capital jump drives.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
Their capital, yeah.
Yeah, but give that time. Give that like a week or two, and that rarity becomes they're all over the place. So, because, I mean, how many people are really going to need one?
Not many.
If 5 drop in 2 weeks, then the majority of the people who really want one or need one or would spend for one have it. It's a one-time thing. It's not a, you know what I mean?
Yep, I know what you mean.
All right, let's look. Anything else that's on here? Nothing really that's super crazy. They've doubled the carrier defense upgrade skills defense boost bonus, by the way, from 25,000 to 50,000. So that was kind of just buried in the there. Jump clones adjustments, that's been changed. It's faster on your jump clones, so that's good. People moving around. All right, let's get into the TACs, the tactical assault carriers. That's the main topic. That's the main thing everybody wants to talk about. We'll go over it. I told Zavarta earlier this morning that the tankiness on it was good, or I thought it was good. Then I went back and reviewed and looked at it, and all 4 of them have better tank than the main supers. The main super carriers do at this point. Starting hit points is higher on all of them. Surprisingly, the Superbia has the highest starting hit points. Plus, it has added bonuses to armor resistance and armor hit points to begin with. So that's your tank. Out of all 4 of them, that's your biggest tank, which happens to be armor.
I looked at the Rahab, and the Wyvern has 2.5 million or 2.5 million shield hit points base, but the Rahab only has 2.34 million EH base.
It's got more overall, though.
Yeah, in armor and structure, but
yeah,
who cares about that on that ship?
Right. If you're just looking at shield versus shield or armor versus armor, there's some slight differences there. Yeah. Isn't the bonus
the
Rahab better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Rahab gets the shield amount bonus 5% per level on expert.
Yep.
So I did calculate that out. So just working off of just pure base numbers, I think it was 400k more than the Wyvern.
Yeah, so tankier.
Yes.
Now the drawback,
and then they can also
go ahead.
Well, they can also fit the carrier defense module, which also boosts there as well.
Well, that's the one that would go onto a Visago. It's not a cover mod.
Correct. Yeah, no cover mod.
One.
It's going to be the swarm defense module, just like the Vex have.
Right. So on that boost, it's what on the DPS? Or I guess there's a couple of stats on that one. Do you have those pulled up where you can go through those? Because those stats are different than a cover mod. The cover mod is great for capacitor transfer. It's great for damage transfer off of anybody in that squad. Whereas on that the mothership swarm, or whatever the hell they call it, but the blue swarm module doesn't have any of those effects. Doesn't have a damage transfer. It just has a DPS and a tank boost, correct?
Yes, DPS, and then resistance boost, lightweight ship, velocity boost, maybe more, but those are the important ones.
Yeah.
I think at max skill, no nano core bonus, it's 21.6% for the defense module when activated with an endurance 10.
Yeah, I was going to say.
An endurance 10.
Yeah.
And with the defense GU, I think 6.
It's
I think
difficult
it's about half
to get
that
to always be up. It's just difficult to get that to where it's always up. Whereas the cover mod's always up. You just turn it on, it's always up.
Yeah, the cover mod skills just increase what it does, but to get the blue mod to be always on, you need the endurance GU at 10. You need coordination, defense coordination at 555. Module operation at 555. There's 3 skills. Team combat, that's what it is. Team combat 555. Defense coordination 555, and GU at level.
I got the stats pulled up for us to look at, those who are watching. So we do get an armor resistance boost, a shield resistance boost, a damage boost that's pretty high, and a little bit of a flight increase, and some damage transfer off of your fighters, but nothing for the rest of the group, which I guess is fine. That would kind of, I don't know, for the lightweights to change that up, that would be difficult. So...
Right, but at max skills, or at zero skills in damage transfer, it's 75% of all lightweight ship damage to the lightweight ships move to the carrier.
Right.
And at full skills, it's 92.5, which, I mean, that alone is huge for getting Fang.
Keeping them alive, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a trade-off there, a little bit different tactics that you'd use, obviously, if you're going to use the Swarm Carrier Defense Module versus the Cover Mod, but still some decent stats there, some very decent stats. One of the interesting things is they went with four full tubes anyway with the TAC, but it's 1 per. So you either going to put 1 cruiser lightweight or 1 battle cruiser lightweight in those tubes. It's not a 1 versus 2. It's a 1 period. So you're going to have 4 ships, and that's it. I'm pretty sure you'll be able to go and put a higher number of destroyers or a higher number of frigates in those same slots, but have to test that out to see if they've restricted that in some way. You can get 5 with a mod. Yeah, there's another bipolar module that you can put in there to get a fifth one. And Savardo and I looked at the DPS. At first, when I thought about this and was looking at it only being 1, I thought, wow, the DPS is going to fucking suck. But I was quickly corrected on that. The DPS isn't going to be that bad at all. Obviously, it's not the same DPS as what a super carrier is. It's just not the same thing. I think the application is going to be totally different. Oh, you're right, Kingslayer. That mod's going to be insane. It's going to be insane. I won't.
Yeah, so just doing some math earlier, it's going to be for comparing frigates to cruisers and then the destroyers to battle cruisers, because that's kind of how it works out, especially with the way you look at the old bipolar mods. I don't know what they're calling now, assault carrier rank.
Yeah.
It's about 3 times as much DPS as you're currently getting with the setup of what you got.
Right.
So if you're getting 20k DPS, with your Sago, expect it to be somewhere around 3 times. Probably a little more for the Midgard and the Hades because they get a better bonus. But the Superbia, the Rehab, They get 12%, where the two DPS focused Vex are TACs are 50%. So they're going to be a little higher, but it's about 3 times as much. The application is a lot better. Now, we also have to remember that these are just the base models. These are just the base model ships. They cost, I checked it out, they cost about $1 billion to make, with the moon mats and all that business. But here's a comparison of the best lightweight destroyer you can get versus the more DPS focused battle cruiser. So integrated iron guards and lightweight Nagas. So I mean, one of the best fighters you can get outside of augmented, and then just the base here. Look at those application stats. Explosion velocity is better, and explosion radius is almost half. So the application on smaller ships is going to be way better than using heavy fighters.
And your optimal range is better as well. Your activation time is slightly longer, but not by much. DPS is 4 times as much. Flight velocity is going to be really slow on these, but it's a brawler, so
that's
it doesn't
to be
really
expected.
matter.
Yeah,
it's a brawler.
And with the Rahab, which is the one that has like more missile bonuses, that explosion velocity is going to be up by 50%, and the explosion radius is going to be down by 5%. So the application stats on that are just even more insane. Now tie that with Bombard. I don't think there's going to be a subcapital that's going to be able to take. I think you're just going to one-shot it. Just because the application stats with Bombard.
Yeah.
Unless maybe not one-shot, but it's tethered. Not going to take very long. Right, yeah, unless it's tethered to a Fortizar.
Yeah.
Then you aren't killing it. I use the Iron Guard as comparison because we're talking about heavy fighters here, and those have the best application stats. So that's why I use those for comparison.
Yeah, just for the application stats between the explosion velocity and radius. I get it.
Yep. Yeah, I have Arrow 45 on my back character, so on my Anaconda, which gets the range, it gets a range bonus, but I have 60 kilometers my destroyers. So with these having a base of 30 kilometers, I think once you're skilled in and get double that range, or at least even 50%, now tie Arrow on top of that, you'll probably hit 100.
Like a sentry would, which I really hope those sentries would be a little bit better than what they were. There's some application uses there on an Aeon, I'll say, but and maybe on this too. I don't know. That depends on how many you can put in a 2. Well, you can't put these on the TACs at all, so never mind. Couple of other wild things that they did with these TACs, which I still don't really know if I like this or I don't like this. The first part of it I do like, which was it's tied to corporation tech. So you have to be level 5 corp tech to even go and unlock the ability to build one of these. And that also applies to the blueprints. I double-checked that this morning. You cannot make a blueprint until you have that corp tech unlocked. So it's not just you have to have corp tech to build it. You have to have corp tech to make the blueprint as well. Exactly, Kingslayer. Yeah, make all those. And you can only do it 10 times. That's it. You only get 10 BP runs and 10 builds per corp. That's it. You're done.
That's if you have level 7 epic unlocked and all the corp tech.
And
so
all of
5 is 1. Yeah, 5 is 1. 6 you can build up to 4 because you get 3 more slots there.
And then 7.
And I don't have 7 unlocked, so I couldn't tell. But if they say it's 10, then I imagine. Okay.
7's your other 6. Yep.
Right,
that's
and that's
1,
a
3,
ton
and
of
6.
tech.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a ton of corp tech invested in that just to build these. But I mean, we all know AOA is going to have burner corps that they're just going to build these and sell them off because.
Yeah, all you can do is just make a corp. All you have to do is make a corp, get it to level 5 really quick.
They're going to make a killing.
There's your 10 BPs and 10 runs, off you go. Well, your 1 run anyway, but there's your 10 Bs and 10 blueprints. So that part, and then you just make another burner. Is it cheaper to make a burner 100%. Corp, get it to tech level 5 to build the 1 than it is to unlock the rest? And the answer is yes, because to unlock level 6, I forget what the BP, what the cost is in just ISK for level 6 because it's been so long since I've done it. But I know level 7's 128 bill because I looked at that for Red 1 this morning. I have level 7 on Big, but I don't on Red 1 yet. So it's 128 bill just to unlock level 7. I'm pretty sure it was like 96. Or no, it's half that. It was 64 for level 6 just to unlock it. So there's 180 some odd bill right there just to unlock those 2 levels. I guarantee you it's cheaper to just make a new corp and get it to Tech 5, and boom, there you have your 10 BP runs. Way cheaper.
Right, but that's time gated as well. So how long is it going to take to get to level 5 versus 5 to 6 in Corp Tech points that you
start right now, and you'll have 5 alt corps ready to go within a month. I mean, maybe 2 months, because you can only make 1.5 million. You can only make 1.5, maybe it's a little bit more than that. If you went nuts and went for the high-end ships, it's 15,000 points per high-end ship. So let's do some math. Everybody wants to do math on a Wednesday morning when they're listening to a podcast, right? So let's do some math. 15,000 roughly times 150 is, 2.25. Okay, so I thought it was closer to 2 million. So 2.25 million corp points per week is your max. So multiply that out by 4 weeks. That's 9 million corp points. I feel like that's enough to get you to level 5. I feel like that's enough. You could do it in a month.
Okay, so just make burner corps.
Yeah, to get your BPs. Easy peasy.
Yeah, and just add that into the cost if you're going to sell them, or if you're going to keep them, whatever.
Right.
But
because there's no restriction on how many of these you can have in your corp. There's just a restriction on how many BPs you can, as a corporation, you can make, and how many builds you can do. That's it. So I don't really understand.
I don't
why
think
they
this was very thought out on their end.
No, this isn't going to limit it. It might slow it down, but in the end, over the aggregate after a year or two, it's not going to limit the number in game.
I wouldn't. No, and I wouldn't even say it's going to have a huge impact on the market, because I mean, you're only talking between all the ships being built and the ISK invested into Corp Tech, what, maybe 200 billion tops
to get to 10.
That doesn't add much.
No, it's a little higher than that.
To get to level 5 Corp Tech. To get to level 5 Corp Tech just to unlock.
Well, that 2.2 million corp points is going to cost you 50 bill worth of builds every week. Just the ships to build them.
Every week?
Yeah.
Okay, every week, and you said what, 2 months? So that's
1 month.
400 bill?
1 month, yeah.
1 month, so that's 200 bill? That's nothing.
Plus the unlocking of
that's
each
nothing
of those
in
levels.
the grand scheme of it.
So you're right.
Okay, so add that on top.
Yeah, so 250, 300, somewhere in there. Long term, probably not. To get 10 BPs that you can turn around and sell for 350 a piece. I mean, obviously you got to farm all that shit, but
exactly. Well, you just add your cost on top. Whatever it costs you to get to that 1 BP, that just gets added to the cost on top. But I mean, in the short term, nobody's going to be. I don't think anybody's going to really be doing that. Might be making burner corps just to get them start leveling up and doing it the slow way, the more efficient way.
Yeah.
If they really plan to pump out more than 10 of these, but for the most of us that are playing the game the real way, I don't restriction.
Why do you need? That's I guess that comes down to the ultimate question in terms of what we're seeing for this whole thing to begin with. Why do you need 10 to 20 of these? What's going to make these so much? I mean, they're tankier, but so what? I mean, 10 of them versus 40 supers, they're all going to die. So what? It's not a game changer in terms of tankiness. It's not a game changer in terms of DPS. It has some nice little tricks up its sleeve, but it can't use bursts, right? So I'm not really sure.
So I think
there's certain things I think you want it for, but I'm not really sold on the idea that you need a ton of them.
No. So the two modules in question, or the 2 modules added specifically just for these, I think the capital boost is going to be useless. 45-second charge, even with skill, I think is half that, so 22.5 seconds.
It's too long.
It's too long. You're going to be bubbled. And if you're not bubbled, you can just jump out. What's the point? You're not going to want to try to get range of something. You might try to get in range of something. That would be the only use for it. But is it really worth a low slot? I mean, I've been flying Vax for a year and a half, so I'm assuming they're going to be fitted pretty similarly. You know, you have the idiots out there that put 4 damage mods on there to gain an extra 1k DPS.
These things will all
But,
have
I mean,
4 P80s and T2 rigs on them. Come on now.
Oh, yeah. Well, yes. If I ever get one, that's what I would do. But,
well, yeah,
I mean, T2 rigs for sure. 4 P80s with T2s, yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know.
That'll make it a 10 that'll make it a 10 trill kill mill when it dies if it has 4 P80s
sure.
and T2 rigs on it.
Well, it's one 4 P80 is 48 rigs, and I think they're like what 10 to 15 billion each. God. So for one rig, you're talking 600 bill just in rigs. You know, not including the cost of it to make. Yeah, is insane.
And it means absolutely nothing because you can have one of these completely blinged out like that, and it'll still die to 4 supers. 1v4, it's dead.
Yep.
1v3, it's dead.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah, unless they can, you know, yeah. I mean, it's always a numbers game.
It is.
You know, it's always
It is.
It doesn't matter how blatant you are. You know, and you're talking the biggest ships. You're talking about the biggest ships. So on the biggest ships, everything's equal on a 1-to-1 scale. In theory, fit the same, yada yada yada.
Roughly.
But I mean, I think even with one of these and one of these versus a super, I mean, I think the edge would go towards this.
Well, simply from the ability, you could probably defang. Yeah, you could probably defang that super pretty easily. So yeah.
Right. I think these are going to be ridiculously hard to defang, only because of the EHP of the lightweight battle cruisers, 92.5% or 90% at 554 reduction on those. And if you're using arrow with the active ability, it's just going to rebuild shield faster than you'd be able to shoot him down unless you're going full defang. And then I don't know. I mean, it's all speculation right now, right? It would just be a full test. But I mean, the big thing is there's no cover mod, so you're going to have supers nearby for capacitor. You know, assuming that they use a lot, but I don't think they will.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
the full-blown stats with skills, everything applied, implants, tactical defense, all these things that go to it. You're right, Trupa. That's kind of. I mean, the EHP on these will be insane because they have a higher starting base, plus their bonuses, plus whatever else you throw onto it. I guess that's a question, too, is how many people are going to be really pissed off if the core that they have for their Aeon doesn't go onto the Superbia?
As of right now, they don't.
Yeah, I know.
Because if you go look at the stats page, there's only one skin, and that's the skin that comes with it. But I mean, how many people are going to be pissed off? I've already seen a couple of posts, people looking to trade their pre-made super BPs for the materials.
Yep.
To make one of these BPs. They're trading 1-to-1 ratio because they require this thing.
Yep.
They require the same thing, except for they need 15 more extra yellow donuts, and the push cost is 50 billion versus 3.5 billion. Yep. That's it. That's the only difference.
50 billion
in the material cost.
Well, on the BP side.
Yeah.
On the build side, let's talk about that, because on the build side now we have 2 problems. The first problem is you can't build it anywhere you want. You have to build it in an ITC, and it's only 4, and it's also faction oriented. So a Rahab can only be built in Tama, a Midgard can only be built in Eistadard, a Superbia can only be built in Ashked, and Hades can only be built in Ostentingle. So what the hell is that all about? Yeah, I call it Ostentingle.
So I looked at that this morning. My carrier builder is only 555 capital and 554 carrier, so not maxed out. I plugged it into my sheet, and it's 822 parts, and it requires 0 drone bays. Now I like how they did that, because if they were to require, it puts more precedence on other different PI. Like precious alloy was through the roof for a long time. You needed so much of it to build super. So the fact that they moved away to do its maintenance, was it maintenance and corp hangers? I think it's what they did kind of in trade. But yeah, it's 822 parts at 91%. The max you can get right now is 90.
The other part they added into
Oh,
that.
I thought I got it. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They added moon material.
It's intermediate. Yeah, exactly. Intermediate materials that you have to build out of the moon materials. Now, I haven't ran the numbers to see what exactly, how many moon belts do you have to run to get this number of, fluoride, sextite, ferrogel, all this, the bubbles, all this shit, titanium carbide plates. I have no idea how many moon belts you have to run to get enough material to make all of that. I can't imagine it's more than a couple, to be honest, because whenever I go and run these, and I keep running these constantly, all of those on one of my tunes for the Marzio upgrades we're doing in Silent and Azazels, and I've only got one moon belt worth of material in my hangar, and I'm never going to run out. We'll upgrade. And I'm talking about maybe close to 100K of each of these, and I'm going to easily get that out of one moon belt. Obviously, we're talking about 1.3 million. It's actually more than 100K that I'm running. It's probably closer to 500K, but still, I think maybe 2 to 3 moon belts to make this. The problem is going to be the time, because even if you have 555 polymers, to run that many of each of these is going to be a shitload of time.
Somebody mathed it out, and with polymer scale at 5.5, I think he said he was 5.54, one character with 10 oven slots is 296 days of cooking.
Yeah, per tune.
So if you have per tune, right? So if you have 6 characters, that's 50 days.
Yep.
If you have 5 characters, that's 60 days. So that's 2 months with 5 characters. That's not terrible.
No, it's not. It's not terrible, and the material isn't expensive either. Really, when you go back and look at it, because it's just mooning. It's just moon mining, and it's really quick. An hour, and you have one whole, less than that. You have one whole belt done. You should anyway. Then the C70 gas that comes into it. That's the other part of that, but.
Right. So I did a quick click on those, and some of them, and this was without skills. I think I did it. It's like 40 to 50 bill. 40 to 50 bill without skills, building skills. If you were to just buy at the amount that was on the market.
Yeah.
At that time. So I mean, you're not going to do that. You're going to do it yourself. But the corp's going to do it, because I mean, a single person trying to build one.
I still look at these as corp assets to begin with, in terms of your corp can only build so many, and you can only RE so many. So it's kind of like, for most corps, a regular corporation setup, they're going to be looking at these as corporation assets in my mind. I don't know, maybe, unless you have like we said, a burner corp, but that's a lot of investment to do that. Well,
I mean, even if you have level 6, I think most corps that have been developing nicely are at least level 6 now. If you were to unlock all the things for them, you could build 4 of these total. Now, you need the same amount of parts, roughly, as a super. You do need more of the special materials, like the temp regulators.
Yeah.
You need roughly 50% more, I believe it is. Just fast figures here. And then you need the moon stuff, which you're doing moon stuff anyways. If you're a developed corp, you're launching moon belts, you're doing them, and you're making stuff. So, really the only thing that gets added on compared to a regular super is just the moon stuff.
Yeah.
And everything else
kind of a
pretty
time
much
lock.
the same,
That's all that is.
Right.
Unless you've already got them laying around. In some
cases, if you have 3 subs, what's the moon mod? 20 billion or so?
Well, I mean, keep in mind that most corps that have been running moon mining have been doing it from the standpoint of, we're going to stock it. And we're not going to use it for anything, because we don't know what we actually need down the road. We don't know how many of the raw ores are going to be needed, like they are for building intermediate materials. In some cases, you just use the raw ore for straight build, right? So a lot of people have been stocking those. So now when you go back to it on the intermediate mats and you have to build a bunch of them, now you've got to, and they haven't been refining them either. You've just been keeping them as raw ore instead of refining them. Obviously, you don't.
Right. Well, that was my comment.
Yeah.
Was how many people were taking this and reprocessing. You know, they didn't need the materials.
I've told people in silence since the beginning to just hoard them and don't do, if you're going to do anything with them, then maybe do a certain amount of them into intermediate mats so that you can speed that process up when you need them, or you have a certain level of stock. Like for us, we've set a stock level that we want to have inside of big, but and I think we've like exceeded that and just kept going for no other reason than why not. But
right.
Yeah. So for those that were prepared for it, not a big deal other than, well, there goes my inventory. So.
Right. Exactly. But
and
I mean,
think,
how many people,
go ahead.
How many corps were building advanced REMs when they?
A few keep doing them. I look at that ROI on that though, and I'm just like, yeah, why? I don't care.
Yeah, 3 years is a long for basic.
Well, yeah, but I mean, when it comes to pumping out enough PI to be able to build a super in X amount of time, that's the correlation that I think a lot of people make when they go back and look at that and they say, okay, regardless of what the investment costs to get it done, how can we speed up production of X, Y, or Z components or supers or whatever else, or TACs, all that stuff. How do you speed that up? Well, your PI collection is the only thing you can, the only bottleneck really. ISK isn't the bottleneck. Rocks aren't the bottleneck. It's PI, because it's the only thing that's time gated. You can't just go and run more to get it. You have to literally just have more pauses and more REMs running, right? So if you speed that up, then like you do from an AREM, then that's about your only option. So for some corps, they've been doing that from the standpoint of, we just need to be able to build faster, and that's the only way we can do it.
Right, but I mean, if you have 3 sources of things that you need to build in theory. You have ore and minerals, you have PI, and you have ISK. Only one of which is time gated. So if you have an excess of minerals, sell your minerals and buy PI.
Sure.
Because I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that, they have the PI, but they need the minerals. Probably not as many the other way around.
I mean, a decently fit Workwool is going to be able to, all by himself, is going to be able to mine enough materials for a super in 2 weeks if they really try. Maybe less.
Yeah, no, I can agree to that. I can see that.
So,
because I know what I can do. I know what I can do with mine, and you're probably about right. If you really went at it, you can mine a super's worth of materials. Yeah. PI, on the other hand, I mean, I have.
And you don't get enough PI out of refining the moon rocks to have that make any dent either. There's just not enough PI out of it.
Right.
So.
Yep.
So the interesting thing with locking the numbers and locking the areas to build them, I don't think that's really going to cause anybody to have a roadblock. And if they want one, they'll figure out a way to get one. So. Each one has slightly different advantages over the other. Obviously, we talked about the Superbia having a better tank overall, just more hit points, raw hit points to begin with. Yeah. Anything else we need to cover on the TACs? I think that pretty much covers it, other than any other details we want to go over with their lightweight ships, which I don't think it really, it's cruisers and battle cruisers. No big deal there.
I think out of the 2 cruisers, one's more offense focused, and the other one has an E-War tied to it. So, like, the Blackbird has cruise missile, yada yada on it. The stats.
I didn't see that in the stats though when I was going and looking at them. I didn't see anything there that told me that one would do one thing over another, or apply any kind of E-War over another.
Well, I looked at the Blackbird, and it said explosion velocity plus whatever or minus whatever. It had E-War stats on it.
Gotcha.
But it didn't say anything in the description about it. I didn't look at any of the others. I was just looking at the missile one.
Bellicose has target painters. Oh my
god. No, that's I mean, that's useless. That's mostly useless for turret ships. But I mean, if you're using bellicoses, if you have 5 tubes of bellicoses target paint, and you're aiming at a nester or something, and you have a super or something on the side of you, and you can explode the radius of that thing and apply with heavy fighters that could be used tactically. But I mean, why would you?
Signature radius adjustment. There you go. Yep.
Yeah. What? Yeah. So then the other ones must be tracking disruptor for
RBS
Amar,
tracking, yeah.
and then
Plus the
sensor damps
damp.
on.
Not sure what the sensor damps is
So
going to do.
you're going to use auto defense? You're going to use auto defense with Celestis?
Yeah, I guess good.
Yeah, but I mean, they're not going to apply to the that you're with it.
Yeah.
Not as much.
Yeah, because
I don't know. I mean,
you're not going to be able to. That's not going to really help you when you're fighting other capitals, especially supers anyway.
Yeah, because they already have all the major.
All
the only thing that I know that penetrates it.
Yeah.
Right. The only thing that I know that penetrates it is burst.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that has full effect on it. So, I mean, lightweight ships, whatever.
Well, it'll definitely be interesting to see as we move forward over the next couple of weeks who gets the first one in build, who gets the first one out of build, what kind of stats they look like once all this shit's applied, what kind of cost is involved for fitting the whole thing up. Obviously, when you're looking at T2 and everything else, this is going to be a massively expensive, massive IP ship. And there's the other part of this, the last little part before we wind up here is when it dies, you have to IP it. Because you don't really have the ability to just keep building.
Right.
Not in your
yeah.
corp
So
anyway.
that changes. That in not anytime soon, but in the future, if you're going to start covering these with SRP or anything like that's going to have to be a full SRP.
It's going to have to be ISK SRP. You can't do it any other way. You
Right.
have to be able to SRP the sucker back because once you've lost it, you can't. I mean, in theory, you can replace it, right? But not really. Because your corp that built it is maxed at 10 builds. That's it. So once you've built it, that sucker's going to have to be IP'd back.
Right. And what's going to be the valuation on the materials?
Yeah. They're going to be sky high because those moon ores are sky high versus what they're in reality what they're worth, right? So yeah, those intermediate mats are going to make this thing look like 4 or 5 trillion easy.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep. I know there was a bunch of insurance. I didn't even look at them. My understanding was some of the lesser used higher.
It's not a matter of moving your account to a random corp. It's that a corporation can only build so many. They can only make, it's capped. A corporation can only run so many blueprints, which is 10. It can only build X amount of these, and then you're done. That corp is done. It can no longer build or RE blueprints ever again. That's where the cap is at. So if your corp builds one, now you have 9 more you can build, and so if this one dies, you'd better just it's cheap. It's going to be cheaper just to go and replace it with ISK as opposed to building another one because you're limited.
Oh, a couple of other things too. People haven't already looked into it. The hanger mods for these work the same way as the mono and bipolar did, but you need to have the VAC variant in order to be able to build it. So if you think you can just go out and get a hanger 4 because you can go RE it directly, if you don't have a bipolar 4 hanger or whatever they call it now, you're not building it.
Yeah.
You need to have the previous hanger in order to build it.
Eesh. Jesus.
and that's more moon mats as well, on top of like 20 or 30 billion costs.
Yep. Yeah. B-Town just put that up.
All of
Thanks,
that.
B-Town. Yep.
And if you haven't noticed, between the two battlecruiser variants, because they work the same way, and I'm assuming they do, as regular VAC, where you need to have frigate, destroyer skills. Now you need cruiser and battlecruiser. But if you're going to run like the Naga or the Tornado or any of those variants, you need large weapon skills.
Yeah.
Not mediums, like the bombers.
Damn.
The bombers use large missiles, but it's small weapon skills when it's on the VAC. So you need to have large skills if you're going to run the Nagas or if you're going to run tornadoes.
Yep.
So that's more skill points.
Sync.
Yep, that's what it is.
Yeah, I don't know, Frotzy. I kind of look at it and say, yeah, it's still an N+1 game when it comes to super carriers, whether it's attack or a super carrier. So, I mean, I think every group that's running supers is probably gonna want 1 or 2 of these in the group, just for the extra module boosts you get. that come along with that. Even a capital Sino, which we didn't talk about. And I mean, now you can put a capital Sino on it the same way you do with an existing vac, like a Visago, but way tankier. Way tankier. So, and I don't know if that module is the same Aurora one. Is it the same one, or did they introduce a new one? I'm pretty sure they just left it the same. But I haven't looked.
Same one, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll introduce one that gets completely around jammer. Then you'll hear all the crap. Then you'll hear all the
That'll be
cry
nuts.
about that.
That'll be nuts.
Yeah, that will.
I mean, look at
the Sun Chaser. The Sun Chaser, if it gets that, and if they add that eventually, then that's going to completely change the of everything.
Yeah.
You know. But I don't know. I mean, that's a lot of logistics to figure out to try to Sun Chaser a fleet into nullsec. Every ship would have to have durability. Too much to
about. Basically, yes, Frederick. It'll Sino in any capitals. It'll Sino in anything. Well, actually, just capitals. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like the vac. Go, you shoot the jammer down through the shields, light the Sino on it.
Yeah.
Bring it to it. Flops. Anything that can jump to a Sino, jumped.
Yeah, Sun Chaser into system, shoot the jammer down. Well, you can't light this. Do you have a Sun Chaser core on what? Like it had to be on a vac or this TAC in order to do that. A TAC or a vac.
There's no capital nanocore, or there's no nanocore for either the vacs or now the TACs that has the Sun Chaser ability. The Yanjung doesn't count fit a capital. So
the tactical has a Sun Chase built in. What? Yes, a Lucid Moon can, but it can't fit the Sino though. Only the VAC and the TAC can fit these capital Sinos that it can overcome a -2 stat on a jammer that's been stripped. Those are the only two that can fit that. So you gotta go. Okay, I'm about ready. I gotta go too. I got a meeting in like 20 minutes. Those are the only two that can fit it. So unless those have a Sun Chaser nanocore or Golden Age nanocore, it doesn't really, like, you're not going to use it to go in, strip, light.
Yeah, the Lucid Moon can, but you can't fit a capital Sino to it.
That's
so you can't use a
right.
Sun Chaser.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. I didn't see, because like it has that specific wording, can use the Sun Chaser ability. I didn't see that on the text. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, if they do, then holy shit, that's a completely different thing. Then yeah, everybody's going to want 20 of these fucking things. I don't think that's the case, though. I didn't read that. Let's see. Here it is. Hades. Holy shit. Sun Chaser engine navigation range, 3 light years. Holy fuck.
Right. Well, every ship has that now, technically. I noticed they added that to all ships. It's like, you know,
you're
even
roboting. You're roboting big time, buddy.
Sorry.
Huh.
My bad. Yeah.
Well, that's a huge thing right there. If you can just jump that sucker in. Boy. Say balls, it fixes roboting. Yeah, exactly, balls.
Balls. Am I better or worse?
Yeah, you're better.
Okay.
That's true, Kingslayer.
Right,
I mean,
so
at the very
all
least,
of them
if
have
a core comes in, then yeah. Go ahead, Sorta.
So on that screenshot, on the screenshot for where it says where the Hades is, scroll to the top where it lists all the things it can or can't equip. Like it says cannot fit main weapons and all of that business. If it doesn't say Sun Chaser there, then
like up above where the jump drive stay, yeah.
Yeah, like at the very top of where it says, you know, plus 400% field extender. Right below that has the list. Can fit capital defense tool. Can't fit main weapon. Doesn't say Sun Chaser there, then won't be able.
Well, I guess that'll be an interesting thing to test out and see, because that makes it a huge game changer.
Yeah, that's game changer. Oh yeah. Anything up to -5.
Lucen doesn't say it either.
Yeah.
But Lucen can use it. Yeah. Main weapons cannot be fitted. Can be fitted in a capital Sino. Can fit mothership. Can fit jump overload. Can fit the micro warp drive. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you're right.
Maybe I'm wrong.
To me, that sounds like you can use it, but shit. So yeah, then you would use it that way, where you would just, God, that's a jump bridge, is what that technically is, if you really want to get down to it, because it can sino itself into a jammed system at the sun, warp over to the beacon, rip it down, bring everybody in. That's wild.
Yep.
That's wild.
Yep, up to -0.5. So if you're in a higher security status OSEC, then it's better. Theory.
In theory, yeah. Yeah, super faxes, yeah, exactly. With 5 P80s. That to me looks like like a variant of the Science C is what that is, and I hope they bring that out. That would be excellent to kill those $1 trillion faction Science C laws. It is pretty sexy looking, I will say that. I don't care that it has a runway in space, but whatever.
Requires one of each of the 4 supervac BPs to hit.
Launches lightweight cane. Yeah, I was actually hoping for that. If they were going to do battle cruisers and the Hurricane was there, if you could launch a Hurricane Logistics that does remote reps up to 600 kilometers, like I would just that would be great. That would be hilarious. But oh well. All right, that's all I've got for today's show. We went for an hour and a half. First podcast for me in a long, long time. So thank you for everybody showing up. We had somewhere between 40 and 50 people in the audience on a Wednesday morning. That's excellent for an hour and a half. Big update that we went over. If you missed it, sorry. I'll get the updates up on YouTube and on the podcast itself later on today. So we will go from there. Hey, how's it going, Smoke? Anything else you want to close with, Savarda?
Nope. I just can't wait to see some of these get implemented and see what they can really do. See what people are getting for damage and tank out of them. So yeah.
It will be exciting no matter what, and we will go from there. I can't wait to see the first lost mail from somebody. So thanks everybody for coming. I'll play the outro, and we will see you all next time.